(1349), it's reached nearly all of Western Europe. After the epidemic broke out in Central Asia, the deadly bacterium Yersinia pestis traveled along the caravans of the Silk Road and the vessels of Italy, where it began its gruesome reign over Europe as a full-fledged pandemic. Those infected would develop black boils oozing with blood and pus, giving it the name the Black Death.
God, please, the plague must not take our only son, please, please. I can't believe you wish to leave him here like this.
Sons and daughters were often left to die as their parents desperately clinged to life.
For the love of God, get back, Elizabeth. You'll get it too. All the priests and doctors are either dead or they've fled to the countryside. We must leave too.
Black or purple spots appeared on the arms or thighs or any other part of the body, sometimes a few large ones, sometimes many little ones, wrote Giovanni Boccaccio in the Decameron. Those spots were a certain sign of death, just as the original tumor had been and still remained.
Wretched death is inevitable. Look at his boils, they're the size of eggs. As his mother, I beg you, please allow me to stay with him. No one deserves to die like this.
Water. I need a drink of water.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He's been begging for water for days, but we have none to give him. Please, we don't even have a priest to grant him the right of passage to heaven.
That's exactly why we must leave him. To God's will.
Most people did not know the true cause of the plague, and it was often believed to be divine retribution for their sins.
You can leave without me. I'm not coming. Goodbye, Gordon.
Fine, you can join your son in hell.
As people assumed the plague was God's punishment, they believed its onslaught signaled the end of the world. Many turned to the taverns to dance, drink, and enjoy the pleasures of life in their last moments with it.
What are your drinks if you don't have the God-forsaken plague? We're going to celebrate like it's the end of the world, 'cause it is! Rum all around. Why the long face?
My alcoholism is destroying my family. But mostly the Black Death.
Just relax, man. Here, have a drink. Someone in the house. Say, have you heard of the flagellants?
Those fools going around whipping themselves for their sins. What the devil? Whipping yourself ain't gonna relieve sins from the body.
They're horrid, they are. Walking down the streets, all for naught.
Ignorance over the true origin of the disease led to speculation and rumors. The Jews especially were often blamed and accused of causing the plague and other atrocities.
A foreign trader in my bar. Why do you wish to die here of all places?
I'm here for the show. I heard from Paris that there are all these dying planets aligning, and that's the source of this Black Plague.
Don't be ridiculous, you conspiracy theorists. It's clearly them Jews.
I heard they were poisoning the wells, practicing some dark rituals.
You know, some people say it's the fault of the witches. I heard they burned a few at the stake yesterday.
Saw with me own eyes. Gruesome.
I solely live for the purpose of trading. You'll hear people say, do good in order to gain an eternal life. But I will live as a king with my riches until my time comes.
Don't talk about death so lightly. After my daughter died, I couldn't sustain the farm anymore, so I've been forced into the life of a vagabond, looting ghost towns. Now, death has claimed my son.
As many as 50 million Europeans died from the bubonic plague. Towns lost great numbers of each social class from the laborers to the priests, forcing many to take upon personally unsuited jobs. Many women had to take the place of dead husbands to support the family.
Staying the farm, I heard that the lords across the country were hiking up pay rates just to keep the serfs in line.
Fat chance. King's not gonna stand for it. By his royal pains up in Parliament. Banning those pay rates, sending them back to their original worthless rate.
King Edward III did, in fact, pass the Ordinance of Labours of 1349, fixing wages at their pre-plague levels, and it was reinforced by Parliament's passing of the Statute of Labours of 1351. Ultimately, however, the law of supply and demand reigned supreme, and wages continued to rise, paving the way for socio-economic mobility and the eventual end of serfdom.
What if one of those alchemist fellows discovers the philosopher's stone? There'll be gold as far as the eye can see, and maybe even cure those poor souls of the plague.
Rock!
Now hold up just a second. Even if the stone is a farce, I think anything that gives people hope in these dreary times is worth some respect.
Respect for a rock! The world truly is ending.
You shut your mouth!
No one escapes death.
Let's brighten things up a bit. 1985, America is undergoing immense social and technological change. With fresh fashion and booming beats decorating the streets, one couldn't imagine a place more removed from the gloomy reality of medieval Europe. However, the differences may be fewer than they seem.
Here you go.
Thank you. Let me just check it off. Oh. I'm sorry, but you are not going to think like this.
What? Why?
Let's just say you need to straighten out your life.
But...
Sorry? Rules are rules. I'm sorry. Ooh.
Whoa, bro, that was radical!
Tubular!
Awesome!
Hey, looky here.
Whoa, bro, don't even look at him. You don't want to catch it, too.
Just like in the time of the Black Death, ignorance of how the disease originated and spread bred rumors and speculation. In this case, the gays were blamed for the disease, and it was falsely believed that even casual contact would transmit the disease.
Excuse me, sir, is there a problem?
Whoa, personal space, man.
I'm like 5 feet away from you.
Chad, stand back. You might catch it from
Yeah.
making eye contact with him.
If you're feeling man enough to diss me to my face, be my guest.
Feeling men? That's the problem. You gays are poisoning America with your gay cancer.
What are you talking about?
Guys, have you seen the latest newspaper headline?
Open it. Ooh.
37% in poll says AIDS altered their attitude to homosexuals.
In 1985, the New York Times reported on a Gallup poll on how Americans' opinions changed as a result of the AIDS epidemic. In 1977, 45% of Americans supported legalization of homosexual relations, while 39% opposed it. But by 1982, those numbers changed to 44% and 47% respectively.
Take a look at this.
Africa. AIDS threatens development gains.
Africa was, and still is, the continent most seriously affected by AIDS. Afflicted people, uncomfortable with discussing their condition with their partners, grudgingly spread the disease, a trend seen across the globe.
There you go. Marco, excuse me. Whoa, where'd you get that?
A guy for robbing a joint. What's it to you?
Is that even clean?
HIV is primarily spread through sexual activity, as well as from mother to child during pregnancy, childbirth, and breastfeeding, but it also spread through exposure to infected bodily fluids. Sharing needles is a common form of this.
Well, I ain't dead yet.
You know, if you get HIV, it starts killing your immune system, which is what leads to AIDS. AIDS itself doesn't kill you, it just opens the door of a whole bunch of other diseases. For all you know, you could have AIDS right now and not even know it.
In an effort to protect themselves and their reputation, the gay community sought to educate each other and the public about the dangers of the disease. While myths, rumors, and misconceptions were still rampant, like with the Black Death, organizations like the Gay Men's Health Crisis sprouted to help educate the general public. Additionally, there were actually preventive measures and treatment that could be taken in order to reduce the spread of the epidemic. Unfortunately, the symptoms of HIV aren't nearly as immediate or obvious as those of the Black Death, and many people could live several years never knowing they had it, often finding out too late.
Yeah, right. I have AIDS, and you're not going to.
Fabulous.
No one has escaped death.
Despite their wildly different backgrounds, both Dave and Robert earned a ticket to purgatory. Unlike the people of their times, neither the Black Death nor AIDS discriminated against their victims. The bigotry of their cold realities overshot.
Narrator, could you use like smaller words?
Yeah, it's gonna be a headache.
Ugh. Grim, can you take care of these two? I need a break.
All right. Well, boys, I'm sure you've guessed by now why we've gathered you here in Purgatory today.
Because I'm dead?
No, well, yes, but it's about how you died.
Pandemics? Isn't this project supposed to be about epidemics?
Yeah, but epidemics become pandemics once they spread across a large region. A feat accomplished by the Black Death and AIDS.
So, what's your point?
Both of you, think about what life was like before you died.
It sucked.
Agreed. Is that all?
Try again. How'd people act back then?
Everyone was really suspicious back then. They didn't actually know how the epidemic started, so they blamed the Jews for it.
Ditto. Let's replace Jews with gay men.
Great. In the past and the present, you guys learned that the minority was blamed for the cause of these pandemics. Yeah.
You? Learning?
Hey, learning is cool.
You again?
Yep, and now that I'm back, we can start talking about the demographic and social effects of two of the most salient epidemics in world history.
Don't you remember what we said about big words?
Here's a demographic effect for you. At the beginning of my decade, there were only a few isolated cases of AIDS. But then when it became a worldwide pandemic, 1.6 to 1.9 million people were dying per year.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The Black Death killed a third of Europe's population. That's not even counting Asia.
Disease barely exists. AIDS is still going strong.
Good!
Good, I know you represent death and all, but like...
No, not that. You guys both learned a difference between AIDS and the Black Death.
But it doesn't even make any sense. Medical knowledge of the Black Death is practically non-existent. The only thing that came close was the Cameron, that book you mentioned earlier. AIDS had governmental organizations like the CDC studying it, big awareness campaigns, and tons of media coverage, like the New York article we saw. Why is AIDS still alive?
The Black Death killed its victims within a matter of days. HIV can live in people for years without harming them, so some people, like Johnson, know about it and spent thousands of dollars on medicine to prolong their life, a non-existent option in the Middle Ages.
Also, there aren't really obvious visual signs of AIDS, so a person can really avoid AIDS here.
But they can use protection to avoid catching it. Basic education on the subject gives people a much lower risk of contracting AIDS. In medieval Europe, you could only pray if you didn't catch AIDS or the plague.
Another great observation. Okay, I think we're ready to start drawing some conclusions here.
We are not writing a CCOP essay in the last minute of this video.
Okay, fine. Well, how about a different challenge? Sum up everything you learned in one sentence.
Try this. Although ignorance both past and present epidemics led to the persecution of minorities, modern epidemics like AIDS have less devastating effects than past epidemics like the Black Death, due to more advanced medical knowledge and awareness campaigns dedicated to educating the public about the illness.
Okay. I guess we're ready to wrap things up. Enjoy your stay in purgatory, and better luck next time.
some in hell.
No, zoom out a little bit more. No, not that. Okay, for sure. Okay, stand still.
Dan?